now. Listen up.
3, 2, 1.
It's showtime.
That's great.
This is ridiculous.
99.3 The Truth.
You can't handle the truth. Right now.
Ooh.
That was the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Let's do it.
Hit it. It's time for Mac's World.
And here we go.
Everybody, let's get it started. Let's get it started.
Call Mac 244-0077 or text 809-0993.
It's showtime, everybody! Showtime!
Exclusively on 99.3 The Truth.
7 minutes after 4 o'clock on a gorgeous day. It's the second day of August in the Lord's year 2016, the third millennium for Jesus today. Thanks for being here. I'm J. Michael McCoy. This is Mac's World Live on The Truth, 99.3. Time to talk a little bit about what's going on in the world, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. I first want to tell you about something local here. We have a woman missing in Clive. Sandy Bland is her name. She left the home this morning about 9 or 9:30. She lives in very, very western Clive, eastern Waukee, and the family believes that she might be suicidal. So go on the website to the Des Moines Register, take a look at that picture, walk around your house. If you got a lawnmower building out in the back, go look in it. If you've got some trees, and there's a lot of foliage out there right now, look around. Look under where the dog goes. Check out in the backyard. Maybe Sandy just decided to sit down in your backyard. And Lord, we just ask that you look over Sandy and bring her home safely to her family. All right, beyond that, let me think. Anything going on?
Mac, this is the second day of August. Oops.
That's all right.
And anyway, we're getting into the political season. And the idea...
Tom, this show will be timely, so we will not replay this show.
Okay.
So you can talk about it as if it's today.
Okay. All right, good.
Because we could play this thing tomorrow and everything. I mean, the world could actually figure out that Hillary's a idiot. And so playing the show back on the day after she resigns and is indicted by the FBI.
All right. Good, because it's obviously difficult if we're going to not timestamp a political show when it changes so much, not only from day to day, but even hour to hour. The situation right now is that we're looking at this comment that Donald Trump made inartfully, I think is a fair way to say it, Frank, in regards to the couple that they had, a Gold Star couple, there at the Democratic National Convention, and they were hand-selected to be a Muslim couple. There's no question about this. And so they got up there, and the father did the speaking, and they talked about the sacrifice. And I don't think anybody in the right mind is going to say that, that they're not properly grieving, that he didn't give the sacrifice for his country, and so on and so forth. And unfortunately, Donald Trump did what Donald Trump does. He stepped in it once again and said some things that were not as he should have said them in regards to this. My angle here to bring this up, guys, well, first, I did read today that the father, the Gold Star father, is an attorney who has now taken down his ad on his website. He apparently is an attorney that has profited a fair amount, anyway, from Muslim immigration. That's one of the things that he has been engaged in, yes. And that's on the Drudge right now. If you look, it shows that he has now taken down his advertisement, advertising his services to help bring Muslims into this country. But that's an aside. What I really would like to point out and get some discussion on is the difference, the hypocrisy of the media to show and to portray one versus the other. At the Republican convention, we had a lady, a grieving mother, a Gold Star mother named Pat Smith. She was the mother of one of the Benghazi victims, Sean Smith.
Yeah, Sean Smith.
Yes. And most of you out there probably know the story of the Benghazi. You may or may not know that Hillary State Department received 600 requests over a period of time from not only the ambassador but others for additional security. All of those requests went unheeded.
They went to the security professionals.
Yes, yes, they did. And beyond that point, she sat and in essence did nothing, even as they were under assault. Now, I know that they changed uniforms a few times, but never actually went to give them any succor.
Not only did they not get their security requests fulfilled, but they actually got security detail cut.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, the attitude from the president today, guys, on down is that they are just outraged and righteously indignant that Trump would not show proper respect for this Gold Star couple. And I think most of us can agree if he had it to do over, he would probably do it a little differently.
Well, Megyn Kelly last night mentioned some tweets over Patricia Smith by some Democratic operatives.
Oh, that's what
one of them said something about they'd like to beat her to death with a stick beat her to death.
You're jumping ahead of me, Frank.
Okay.
I've got them down right here. This is how the ones that are so righteously indignant, and the press just can't believe how boorish and how unprepared and everything else Donald Trump is. This is how some of them described Pat Smith. Now, keep in mind, Pat Smith is telling the story of her son who was murdered in Benghazi because of the lack of attention that Hillary and her State Department gave to their security, and then came out and lied to them by saying, we're going to get the guy that did this video at the same time. And we've talked about this before, guys, that she knew because of conversations with others, including her own family, that we have recorded, that she knew it had nothing to do with the video.
Well, here's an interesting caveat to this story. Generally speaking, it's the host's country to give security to ambassadors to their country. Okay?
Yeah.
So when Libya was taken down, there was no functioning government. So that only demanded more protection on our part for our ambassadors, and he was not given that protection. In fact, had protection taken away.
Right. And the ones that they did have, they didn't last a minute.
Yeah.
The testimony was that within a minute they were breaking and running. They didn't even fire a shot to protect them. They didn't even give them any time to get in there to try to protect themselves. But anyway, let's get on with how these liberals in the media and others treated this woman who told her story about not only losing her son needlessly, but being lied to by the then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton.
Well, let's first get it on the table that she's blaming Hillary for her son's death. The couple who are accusing Trump aren't necessarily accusing Trump of their son's death.
In Iraq, and he had nothing to do with Iraq.
He had nothing to do with it.
I mean, in fact, he even opposed the invasion of Iraq, and Hillary Clinton voted for it.
So their basic contempt for Trump is that people like them wouldn't be allowed into the country with Trump's so-called Muslim ban.
Well, and beyond that point, we know that he has modified it. He says he just wants extensive vetting. He's not talking for a total Muslim ban, although that would be constitutional. Some people say, oh, that's against No, it would be constitutional to have a Muslim ban. But beyond that point, let's go to some of these comments that these open-minded, caring liberals have. Would you care to guess? Her son was murdered in 2012 in Benghazi. She told her story to the nation. And these are some of the comments. I don't care how that woman felt, said comrade Chris Matthews on NBC. Another said, a cynical exploitation of grief sniffed the nation. The Washington Post tutted that Mrs. Smith represented was, quote, an early dip into the gutter. The New Yorker called her speech the weaponization of grief. A spectacle as offensive, said comrades pal Rachel Maddow, was hard to even comprehend.
Oh, that's
so offensive, it was even hard to comprehend, said Rachel Maddow. A writer for GQ. Now, do you remember GQ?
Yes, but
apparently
I don't
they're still
read it.
in business. I didn't know that.
That's Ted Kennedy's Boys magazine.
Yes,
or John Kennedy's. Pardon me.
Yes, said he wanted to, quote, beat her to death.
Now, who wrote that? That was GQ?
That was the writer for GQ.
Now, that's Little John John's magazine, right?
I guess so.
Okay.
I guess so. But guys, contest that with what Trump said, and I don't have the exact quote in front of me on what Trump said, but I know he made some comment about, and this was a slam against the Nation of Islam, how they subjugate their women. They put them into a secondary status. I don't think anybody can argue that from our standpoint. They wear the proper garb. They have secondary standards, human rights. They are not allowed the same kind of rights that we take for granted in this country. And so he made some comment along that line, and look how he is being treated in the media versus this other Gold Star mother who much more legitimately has a complaint against one of the two major candidates.
But
right?
have you even heard anybody call her a Gold Star mother? I've not heard that. These are Gold Star parents that Trump supposedly offended, but they're calling this woman just like an idiot.
Yeah, exactly right. They're not showing her any respect. And by all accounts, of those two, who had the greater right to voice her opposition to one of these candidates?
Well, he willingly threw himself on a grenade for his comrades, the son of the Gold Star parents.
Saving other people's lives. That's
this
right.
guy shouldn't even have been there, and he was staying behind to destroy classified hard drives
Yes.
and situations, real destruction of email and stuff that should have happened.
Right.
To keep that from falling into the hands of the enemy. So he was killed. But her biggest complaint is Hillary lied, Panetta, Kerry, Obama all lied and said it was a movie trailer, and none of them, and they say they won't give her any information because she's not too close of kin.
Well, and Hillary was asked the other day on the Fox interview, if you saw this, she was asked by the interviewer in regards to this, and they said, what about the grieving families? She said, well, the grieving families probably just aren't remembering properly.
Yeah.
It is Mac's World on a Tuesday afternoon, and as always, we have Tom Coates in the studio, Frank the Verse Thomas, Bob Montserrat, the Cat in the Hat watching the chat. You can also send us a text at the Service Legends Truth text line at 515-809-0993. It's your voice I want to hear. Phone lines are open, 244-0077, live here. Yep, I told you. It's the truth.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza! And it's got Graziano sausage!
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
21 minutes after 4 o'clock, second day of August in the Lord's year 2016, third millennium for Jesus, in case you're counting. You know, if you've got a 401k that you have rolled over from a previous employer, statistics say that 75% of you, 3 out of 4 of us, will not look at that 401k for over 2 years. During that 2 years, fees can change, percentages can change, investments can change, and you have no idea what's going on. Well, my friends over at Weiss Merkel Financial will take a look at your 401k for you for free. Zip, nada. No strings. They just want to help you with your 401k. Trust me, but verify. You ask these guys, if you let them have a look at your 401k, that there's nothing they're trying to do other than just to help you. It's Lauren Merkel and James Weiss. 278-4110. That's Weiss Merkel Financial. Tell them Max sent you. All right, so I guess you saw a movie the other day, Tom, that you thought was pretty good called Clinton Cash.
Clinton Cash. Peter Schweitzer wrote the best-selling book, and they made it into a movie. A friend of ours, lady is a doctor, sent it over, and I could actually watch it online. I could send it to you, and you could watch it online.
I'd like that.
About an hour and a half. It chronicles the way that they have done business for so long. Going back to Little Rock and the days where, remember, I buzzed the Polk County Democrat chair so hard that one day in regards to the cattle trading futures. And that was small potatoes to what they're doing now. But one of the more outrageous ones, guys, is the nearly $100 million that the Clinton Foundation took, plus speaking fee engagements of significantly higher amounts to Bill Clinton, that ended up allowing the Soviet Union to take control of 20% of our nation's uranium.
Unbelievable.
Now, that's one. And issues like in the Congo, where Hillary had supported certain areas of legislation, only to take significant contributions. Sometimes they're speaking, sometimes they're just donations to the Clinton Foundation to do a 180 on her policies. It's just amazing, but it is a consistent pattern that has allowed them. We were talking about nonprofits, and Gary Leidick earlier had been in talking about his. Others are out there. Normally, a nonprofit like this has to turn around and give a certain fair share percentage back to the stated cause. The Clinton Foundation gives between 10 and 20%, according to some of the reports I've heard, to the stated cause. Right. That means over 80% of the money that is donated goes to salaries and
their
perks
pocket.
And their pocket. You know how much their daughter Chelsea makes for her position in the Clinton Crime Foundation?
It's in the millions, right?
Well,
I heard it was $900,000.
Yeah, almost $1 million a year she makes on salary, plus probably bonuses and perks for her position there. Now, that does not jibe with what one of the reasons the IRS is looking into the Clinton Foundation ostensibly is because of some of these irregularities. Now, one of the irregularities, I think if you take a look at that position that Chelsea does and what she does for them and everything else, would not be comparable to any other type of charity for that kind of money. You know, even Prairie Meadows doesn't pay that much out to Palmer, although he's compensated more than he should have been.
$700,000?
Yeah, that's part of their issue, too. But so this is, if you haven't seen or read the Clinton Cash book, that's worthwhile. And I do intend, it's on my list of to-dos, to go out and see the movie that's out right now on Hillary, Hillary's America. Dinesh D'Souza did that one.
D'Souza.
And you were right, Frank, off the air. You said that Dinesh, who did the movie on Obama 4 years ago, which I thought was very well done, in the interim has gotten in trouble with the IRS and the Justice Department.
Sure. Isn't that coincidental?
Yeah. Frank, do you know the details on that?
No, I don't know all the details, but I do know that it was a hit job.
It was a hit job. They accused him of illegally contributing to a political campaign, and it ended up in jail for it. Now, if you back up, we'll go the inconsistency, hypocrisy of the media. If we had a Republican president, let's say it was a Richard Nixon type that the media was after, and somebody like, who's the heavy-set fellow that likes to make the left-wing movies?
Michael Moore.
Michael Moore. Let's say Michael Moore made a movie, and the next thing you know, for some small minor infraction, he ends up in jail and persecuted. Do you think we'd still be hearing about that in the media today?
No, but interestingly enough, did you see Michael Moore had an article the other day on Facebook at michaelmoore.com that he is putting forth 5 reasons why Trump is going to be elected president?
No, I didn't realize that, although he doesn't say he wants him to be elected.
Michael Moore says there's 5 reasons that he puts forward that Trump will be president. He doesn't necessarily want it or like it, but he says it's going to happen.
All right, it is a Tuesday afternoon, which usually means we ring up the gavel of politics and talk a little bit. Your voice is always welcome, 515-244-0077. Where are we going to sit here with, and I'm going to get all the names wrong, but the person who now says they are going to leak emails which will absolutely bury Hillary.
Julian Assange, who is in house arrest in the UK.
Yeah, but he runs the WikiLeaks, Mac, which has leaked out a lot of highly damaging information over the years on our nation's security. Now, it's interesting that the media has never shown much interest in WikiLeaks bringing out things from Assange that will damage America's national security.
No.
They seem to be very interested now that he's leaked it out on the DNC. And by the way, I did see that some additional top-ranking DNC people had to step down today.
Really?
But they're much more interested in where that source of the leaks came from. Was it Russia, which I contended last week? I don't think so. Well, go ahead.
Did you see the flap that they was throwing it in? Well, even Tom Vilsack supposedly made a big stink that Trump was potentially committing espionage by calling for Russia. But Tom, wait a minute. The
Logan Act had been violated, Frank.
We were told that these were all yoga and yogging with a soft J emails, and nothing to see here. So what?
Hillary's pending nuptials and so forth. Yes, nothing to see here at all. 30-some thousand of them got deleted and destroyed, and of course, this is another reason why I watched this Clinton case the other day, guys. I watched it, and part of her shenanigans that she and Bill were pulling had to do with the Soviet Union. Bill went over there and got $500,000 for a 20-minute speech, which was like over twice what his normal speaking fee would have been. They ended up selling our uranium to the Soviet Union. Why in the world, if you had that kind of additional leverage on somebody that may well become our next president, would you want to throw that out into public?
Uranium is key to building nuclear weaponry.
Of course.
So why are we giving away? That should be absolutely secured, locked down, whatever, in the United States. We're not going to give that away to Russia. Who do we know that Russia doesn't get in a financial pinch and they've got to barter it on the black market because they're going
they're
broke?
Supplying Iran, which arguably is still one of our biggest enemies out there, and they are too. If they hadn't had a go-between, and I can't remember the guy's name, ended up giving $100 million to the Clinton Foundation, this would never have happened. And there were, there's all sorts of issues in regards to that. But no, Mac, what you're asking about are these emails, and he says that he's got enough to put Hillary in prison. My hope that the timing that he releases those additional emails that Assange has, and I have no doubt that he has some, will not be done until we at least get in close to October, guys, because the American public and many of these young millennials that don't know the history of the Clintons, that's why guys our age aren't particularly interested in the Clintons because we've seen the kind of chicanery they brought here. It's the millennials, it's the young people that aren't familiar with it. But 6 weeks out, they'll be paying attention. The debates will be happening. And if he releases those on top of that and the press has to give some play to it, I think that could do a major turnaround for some of those young ladies.
Let me give you an original thought from the warped mind of the verse.
Uh-oh.
Imagine Hillary gets to be president and she's going to build a library. You know that. That library will exceed, the cost and the price of that will exceed anything that's been built as a predecessor to it. And she will deny no money from any foreign or domestic nefarious sources to build it. So from day one, she will be raising money for that library fund. It will be scandal starting in the White House the day she sets foot.
Oh, it has been going back to, I mean, we found out, Mac, nobody knew this for 30 years, but the reason that she went down to Arkansas when she did were two things. One, she'd been thrown off the Watergate Committee for stealing documents, showing the character of the woman at that point.
You mean Sandy Berger wasn't the original?
No. And two, she flunked the D.C. bar exam. Right. Then she went down to Arkansas where the bar was, excuse the pun, much lower, and she was able to pass the Arkansas bar exam. Now, Mac, this is supposed to be the smartest woman to ever walk the earth, and yet she couldn't pass. First off, she couldn't get by with the chicanery of stealing from the Watergate Committee itself, trying to frame Nixon, and two, she wasn't smart enough to pass the bar exam. Now, does that speak to the idea that she was this great genius?
How do we know she passed it in Arkansas?
Well, I don't know.
How do we know that wasn't a big cover-up and a scandal?
Well, when you're dealing with the Clintons, you don't know anything unless you absolutely do know it.
All right, so let's climb on top of this for a minute. 28 minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio News, and then Hank the Bible Answer Man. And you can call in now, 1-888-ASK-HANK. Get in line and ask him any question you want, biblically or otherwise, and he will help you. So let's climb on top of this thing for a minute. Why is Hillary leading in the polls when there is so much damaging factual stuff out there about her and her husband? Well, we are Americans. We are well educated. We have wonderful cultural events in our lives and in our communities. We believe in the truth. Most people go to church, or at least half of them do. Most people say they believe in a creator and that they are created by that creator. And yet we seem to have all the dummies voting for Hillary.
Well, we did have the bounce for Trump out of the Republican convention, and in many of the polls he was leading at that time. And additionally, you expect some bounce, but the media has been unending, and Trump unfortunately has accommodated him on a couple of things to give him some additional information.
You know who Hillary Rosen is. You've heard that name. You've seen her on political panel shows. They had her on one night, and she was bragging about all the money that Hillary had spent on Trump and what a devastating hit it was taking on Trump. And they brought up the fact that Trump is running even with her in most places, had overtaken her in 4 battleground states, and he ain't spent a dime.
I know it. He hasn't.
And they said to Hillary Rosen, what happens when he starts spending money?
I saw 2 of the commercials, guys. Maybe you saw them, maybe you didn't. One had to do with the Gold Star mother. Not that we're talking about Smith, but a different one. Devastating. Another one with Rudy Giuliani, devastating. And we haven't seen those aired yet. I used to say that I would go into my dark place when I would see a Hillary commercial. Back in the primary, you used to actually see her picture on a commercial. You don't see her now because the less you see her, the more popular she becomes. She gets out, she speaks, you see her, she goes down in the polls. Her commercials are all about beating up on Trump. It is nothing about bragging about the accomplishments or the virtues of Hillary Clinton because they're non-existent.
All right, we're going to take our next break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Trump and Hillary battle. I want to look for the debates. The networks that put them up against NFL games.
The Super Bowl, right?
No, not Super Bowl. But this is like what they did with Bernie. They put them on Saturday nights when nobody would be watching.
All right, we're coming back live here on The Truth on 99.3, powered by WebcastOneLive.com.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs,
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
4:38, 22 minutes before the top of the hour. Top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News, and then Hank, the Bible Answer Man. You can call in. Still time. 1-888-ASK-HANK. And ask him any question you want. He is absolutely brilliant. And the other thing is he's very humble. And so when he gives you the answer, you're not going to feel like you're being talked down to. You're going to feel like you're being lifted up. So that's coming up next here on The Truth. We have Frank and Tom in today. They're the new Daryl and Daryl. Because they just love to talk politics and they go on and on. But Frank, you have a theory.
I'm the liberal and Frank's the conservative, right, Mac?
Yeah, sure, you bet. Frank's the bigot racist and Tom's being careful. So, but you have a theory on this Muslim couple, the Khans.
Well, listen, I applaud and I honor their son's death. Okay, I don't want anybody to besmirch or degrade their son's sacrifice because supposedly he willingly threw himself on some sort of IUD device to save his comrades in arms. So I'm not making fun of these people's plight, but what I am saying is what happened in this country 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago doesn't pertain to the argument we're having today. Their complaint was that under Trump's policies, this good family and this good son that laid his life down wouldn't be allowed in the country because of his Muslim ban. But the problem of it is, I don't think it's anything against Muslims. I don't want anybody in this country we can't vet. Okay, so the immigration policies that we had 5 years ago, 10 years ago are meaningless. We have to vet the people to know who we're letting in this country, and that's what Trump is saying. Is we need to put a moratorium on our immigration until we can find out what's going on and who we're allowing in. I think that's perfectly wise.
It makes perfect common sense, and most people do not know, but quietly Obama's been bringing in over 100,000 Muslims into this country every year. Hillary wants to run that number up to more than double. They have estimated that she wants to bring in closer to 1 million in 4 years. First off, if that population would vote 70% for Republicans, that door would be shut in a hurry.
Bam.
70% of them vote for the Democrat. But moreover, this whole thing about the Brexit, where Great Britain voted to exit the EU.
Right.
This was the cornerstone issue. They are getting tired of having to be a punching bag and having massive amounts of Muslims coming into their country and achieving British citizenship
on their welfare system.
That's right. So they're breaking them financially. They're going to bust them because we were talking about Great Britain is part of Europe, and they do not have a birth to death ratio that is even keeping them even. It's like about 1.5 or something like that. The Muslim come in, and Frank, you were mentioning 5 to 1. They breed like rabbits. They outbreed about anything else on the planet. And in short issue, they will be the dominant culture. And once they get to be even close to dominant culture, they will take over, and you will not see any semblance of Christianity even allowed in much of this parts of Europe.
Put this into perspective, Tom. Currently, there's about 7 billion people on the planet right now. 1.6 billion of them is Muslims. If they are the highest breeding population, because whites are down, blacks are down, Asians are down, the two biggest exploding populations is Spanish and Muslim. So if just
the Spanish don't even hold a candle to the Muslims.
So if just the natural rate of progression of population growth goes, at some point the Muslims are going to be the dominant people in society. So here comes Sharia law, in my estimation.
There's no question about it. They have no respect. We used to be a melting pot. Everybody listen. That was our great strength. People came from all over the world. They came here to become Americans, and they assimilated. The Muslims do not come here to assimilate. They come eventually to take over and impose Sharia law. They did some studies. They did some research, and they found the vast majority of Muslims want to live under Sharia law. Now, this can't even be argued. The Democrats won't even try to argue it, but we should point it out. They do not want to come and become Americans living under our Constitution. They want to come here, continue to be Muslims, and live under Sharia law. We've had areas of this country, cities up in Michigan, some other places where they have achieved large enough numbers in neighborhoods to push the police out. You're no longer welcome here. We're imposing our own law and order, our own Sharia law, and that will only grow as we allow it to grow.
But the State Department itself admits that there's a certain amount of the radical element that's coming in the country with the Syrian refugees. So we know they're coming in.
I'm not arguing that, Frank. I'm just saying that's a concern and the other is a concern. There's no reason to continue to open ourselves up to hundreds of thousands of Muslims coming in.
Let's have something just as simple. You go to apply for a job nowadays and they read your social media, including Facebook. Are we smart enough to vet people and at least read their Facebook? Some of these people who have done harm to us in this country have radical posts all over Facebook saying that they don't like America, they want to harm Americans, and yet we're not doing anything about it.
And I'm not going to say, even I won't go so far as to say that Obama and Hillary and the other donkeys actually want to invite terrorists in. But what they do want to do is they want to become the reigning dominant party. And to get that done, to open the borders up to Central Americans, to Mexicans, and now to Muslims who are all vote 70% plus for the Democrat is part of that strategy.
But they're selling their soul to the devil for political gain, Tom.
They don't care, Frank. Plus, you're going to make them dependent, and then you'll even get more than 70% of them. Once you make anybody dependent upon the government, they're going to vote for the person continuing to give those handouts. Mac?
I'm just, Garrett, we're just listening. we're just listening. It's Frank and Tom show today. It's the Frank and Tom world. And we sure appreciate that you are tolerant and you put up with it. And Bob, do we have any positive texts about what they're saying?
No.
Okay, that's what I... Wait a minute, hold on. Let's go to the phone. Do you have no positive calls on the phone?
No, not yet.
No, not yet? Okay.
A few negative ones.
Can't you get Leanne to call or something? Get your daughter to call?
She would probably say, I hear it every day.
Yeah, probably do. Here's the question that I want to ask. When the first debate comes up, how does Trump handle himself? Should he?
He needs to get back on the offensive, obviously. If he continues to play defense as he's been doing, it's not going to work out for him. He does best when he's on the offense, and he certainly has much of the material we've talked about and loads more to go on the offense about Clinton. I heard, she was over there in Omaha the other day with the
Warren Buffett.
Yeah, Warren Buffett, and Warren Buffett wanted him to release his tax records. Well, there are so many things, including the medical records of the Clintons, that have never been released, and so he has tons of the types of things that we've been just scratching the surface on today that he can go after about. The Clinton cash, all of these kind of criminal activities.
What about her medical records? What was up with those dark glasses that you probably could go out and look straight in the sun with? Because I think she had some seizures or she had something when the time she was hiding out down in Puerto Rico and not responding to the congressional committee investigation requests.
My information was that she'd had some fainting spells, and in one of those fainting spells she fell and hit her head, and it was fairly serious. And there were some issues of a medical nature. You remember, now, again, you got to have a memory and you got to be old enough, but we also called for Bill Clinton to release his medical records when he was up for election and re-election, and we never got squat. And the reason that I felt at the time was that it would have shown back to some of the STDs that he was carrying from the hundreds and maybe, by his own admission, maybe over 1,000 women that he'd had both consensually and non-consensually over the years. And so that was his excuse. I think there's other things at play why she won't release hers.
Well, what about his frail-looking nature? I mean, what if all of a sudden HIV was to hit the news? That I don't know. I mean, but he looks awful sickly. She looks
Mac,
Bill Clinton looks awful sickly.
Yeah, by any account, he's had hundreds of women, and by his own admission to one person, he'd had over 1,000. If you have that many different women and you're not protecting yourself, the odds are that you're going to have something.
All right, last break. We're coming back. Yeah, really. No, I got my big boots on. I got my heavy waiter boots on. So, yeah, we're coming back live here on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common, everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
10 minutes before 5 o'clock, Salem Radio Network News, and then Hank, the Bible Answer Man, 1-888-ASK Hank. Tom and Frank have been talking politics for, well, basically 44 minutes now. And so far, we've had the ACLU, the FBI, the CIA, DART. I don't know what DART wants to do with it. Maybe they want to give him a free ride out of town on the bus. But a lot of calls. So I'm going to change the subject for just a second. Do you mind?
Not at all.
Are you okay, Frank?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So Daniel Finney, who is a writer down at the Des Moines Register.
Writes a column.
Yeah, and he's doing really good. So he had a nice article today. So Iowa might be in the market for a new slogan. The rundown monument of the four-leaf clover on the pedestal reading Iowa, a place to grow, is in the process of being removed from the Iowa Capitol grounds. People are already considering new slogans for the state. Hey, there's one, but it'll tick off the Cyclone fans. The Hawkeye State. Never fear, your friendly neighborhood paragraph stacker is here. That's what Finney likes to call himself, with 40 suggestions, any of which Governor Terry Branstad may adopt at no charge to taxpayers. Here we go. So tell me which one of these you like. Iowa, learn to fear God through the nightly TV weather forecast. Iowa, not a Dakota. Iowa, we're nicer than everybody else, like the master race of nice people. I mean, well, we're really nice. Just ask us. Iowa, the lies presidential candidates tell us during caucus season make us feel important.
Yeah.
Iowa, Pokemon Go played here. Iowa, ray gun t-shirts made here. Read about every one of them in the Des Moines Register. That's funny. That's funny right there, Finney. That's good. What?
How about Iowa? We get tired of getting stiffed. Our vendors get tired of being stiffed by Hillary Clinton.
Sure. We'll put that one right up. I'm sure that'll be on the front of the page. Iowa, sometimes famous people die in plane crashes here. What does that mean?
Buddy Holly.
Buddy Holly, the day the music died.
Okay. All right.
Clear Lake.
Yeah.
Iowa, birthplace of Norman Borlaug, who saved 1 billion lives with science. Iowa, Templeton Rye whiskey kind of made here. Iowa, if you are a young person reading this sign, please don't leave for a bigger city. Iowa, 7 hogs for every human, and they all smell like money. Iowa, if you don't love corn dogs and bad classic rock, get out of here. It didn't say get out. It said something opposite, but I'm not going to say it on the radio. Iowa, please. People from here have been on The Bachelor and Dancing with the Stars, and that matters a lot. Iowa, where the one finger wave isn't an insult. Iowa, that's funny. Iowa, know that senior citizen isn't making a left turn despite the signal being on for 6 miles. Wait, no, still no. Iowa, now with enough precious craft breweries to get you drunk enough to think you're someplace else. And finally, Iowa, a place so desperate for celebrity attention, we'll cuddle up to a professional cheater like Lance Armstrong. Anyway, there's some more I can share with you later, but I guess we're looking for a new slogan. Bob, what would be the slogan that you think would work well for Iowa?
Oh.
Anybody?
I don't know, because isn't it on the highway already? I mean, a sign when they welcome Iowa?
Yeah, but they're going to change that. You know, government money. Your taxpayer money spent.
Fields of Dreams?
Field of Dreams. Fields of Dreams. Tom?
How about something along the lines of Iowa, where you put so many millions of dollars into Bike Pass only to have so many bicyclists riding on the street, you know, telling us that they've got every right to ride here rather than on the Bike Pass.
Tom, it's a slogan, not a mission statement.
Iowa, home of the verse.
There you go.
I like Finney. I think Finney's good. I communicated with him. He was one of the first ones to write critical piece about Prairie Meadows in the last quite a few decades. So I communicated him, congratulate him on that, and he's clever.
Yeah, and I think the way he came out with his challenge in life and just put it on the front page of the paper, and because I guess I don't know for sure, but I guess he was like 600 pounds plus.
He did put that. He's a little, maybe bigger in that standpoint. But we talked about our friend in the morning, Van Harden, and how he's lost 100 pounds. But Finney, I think, was bigger. And lost a lot more. So
yeah. I mean, I've talked about this a little bit on the air, but not a lot. I'm in the middle of some challenges with my health, and it comes down to my heart. And yes, you'll be surprised to know that I do have one, and it's 75% blocked with plaque and calcium. And so I've been working on my vitals and everything like that, and I didn't know this, but I've lost 50 pounds in 2 years.
Congratulations, Mac. That's great.
And I didn't even try.
No, once you start walking like we've talked about, you're going to drop even more, and you're going to get that muscle on that fat.
Yeah, well, and you know what? As soon as you buy me those real good walking shoes, Tom, maybe you and I can go walking together. Come out at the mall. I learned it's 1.1 miles if you go to every corner of the mall and then come back.
You will notice a difference. You start doing that in a few weeks, you will notice a difference.
But we'll have to get you a Bob Montserrat type walking watch to count your steps.
Frank, why don't you read what you just saw on the...
Oh, here's a headline from the Christian News. Shock for Gold Star father Khan. A temporary immigration ban is constitutional. George Washington University Law School professor John Banzoff said it was the view of virtually all constitutional professors who've written on the topic that Khan was wrong.
So a Muslim ban is constitutional.
That's what some certain college law professors are saying.
Well, it'll be like everything else that we do in America. We'll leave the barn door open, and there will be all kinds of trouble. And then some wise person will say 20 years from now, you know what we should have done? We should have listened to Donald Trump. And everybody will make a joke out of it because there won't be any of us left. There won't be. There won't be Christianity on every corner. It'll be Islam on every corner, and Christianity will be getting our heads cut off.
My grandpa always used to say after World War II, we should have, after we stomped the crap out of Germany, we should have went and done exactly the same thing to Russia, and we wouldn't have the problems with Russia today.
That's what Patton said. That's why they relieved him from his position. He said, we've got the military over here, let's finish the job.
Right.
And they forced him out.
All right. Well, Tom and Frank, thank you very much for being here. Our guest in the first hour was Gary Leidick. Gary, thank you for being here. Jebediah has been producing so silently. I think we've only heard one word from him today. Is there anything you'd like to add, Jebediah, now that we're at the end of the show? It's your stage.
Were you born in a barn?
Did I leave the door open somehow?
No, I just had to get that out.
Oh, okay. And Bob, as always... Bob, I'm just going to tell you something, and I know, I don't want to hurt your feelings, okay? But Bob, gosh darn it, you talk too much. I mean, seriously. I'm J. Michael McCoy. What?
It's a good thing you can't hear my thoughts.
I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I love this job. Couldn't do it without you. Go home. Find that person that you carry that resentment for and forgive them, because as you forgive, you shall be forgiven. I'll see you in church.